It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Thursday, November 14th, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that is so thrilled to be in a Morgan Frost drama situation again.
Yeah, deja vu all over again.
Your Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. I've been podcasting about the Flyers, the NHL, and hockey for a decade. I'm here with prospect expert and Flyers credentialed reporter for 19 years, Russ Cohen. You can start this season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit fanduel.com to get started. To keep up with our latest episode and Flyers news, you can find us at Locked On Flyers on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Twitter. And of course, here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are going to preview tonight's matchup against the Ottawa Senators and check in with prospect goaltender Carson Bjarnason on the show. But we have some interesting developments at practice from yesterday to discuss. One of the things that we've talked about a lot recently, Travis Sanheim's usage, and is that setting any alarm bells yet? He sat out practice for a maintenance day. He's had over 30 minutes for his last two games. And, we've been kind of pointing that out for a while now based on what they did last year as well. And, his last 5 games, almost all of them 25 minutes or above. Like, is it dangerous to start getting in a situation where he has to take a maintenance day because of overusage?
Yes. I mean, he's a young guy. He 27? Like he's a young guy taking maintenance days. This isn't Eric Johnson taking a maintenance day or Konechny because he's been banged up for like a week. This is bad. It's just you can't do this, sacrifice this so early for wins. This is what happened last year in that regard.
There's some extra side effects, which we're going to get into a little bit after we talk about Morgan Frost. But if they're going to pair him with Emil Andrae, is Emil Andrae going to then also get overused to keep the pairing together a little bit? Like, I wonder about that
I don't think
as
so. I think they'll
well.
make adjustments in game, and sometimes somebody else will be with Sanheim. That's what I think.
Yeah, or maybe like obviously on the power play they wouldn't be together. So
Right.
that's probably some of the differential there, although Andre's power play won now. So there you go. But I think, again, hopefully Cam York is coming back soon. That will help mitigate some of this. But, he is going on the road trip. No indication if he's going to play or not. Jamie Drysdale is back practicing on, the separate ice, not with the main group, but
That's
still
not
good to
good.
see him. Yeah, I mean, it's like glass half full or glass half empty with him right now, I think.
Well, I mean,
But
all right. So here, it can't be half full. If you want to say half empty, I'm with you. Only because the more time he misses, the harder it's going to be for him to get things on track, which he hasn't been able to do this season.
that is true. That is true. And in terms of trying to solidify these pairings, which
Right.
is an issue, I think, with the injuries. Obviously, every team deals with injuries and you have to
Sure.
switch things up. So, not expecting to lock things down, for 82 games in a season, but you do need some consistency and balance on these pairings. And the fewer guys you have, with fewer experience of playing with each other, that's where it kind of runs into an issue, right?
Yeah. I mean, we're getting close to the quarter mark in the season. You should know what your top pairing is.
Right. Now, the Morgan Frost issue, which mentioned at the top of the show, I think it only feels worse because we've been down this road before, right? So this will probably be based on all indications because he and Nick Delorier were the extras on the forward side at practice that for the Senators game, at least he won't be in the lineup. That's 2 games in a row, and when it's something small, he'll only sit somebody for a game. If it's something more significant than that, then you see multiple games. And I think that it's going to start to get dangerous, especially against a Senators team, which we're going to dig into them in the next segment, but they are so strong down the middle. So to
Very.
leave Frost out of this particular game seems a little short-sighted to me.
But again, John will do that. He's unwavering with that. My feeling is, look, Frost is 25. It's not like he's 100% fully done. This is what you see. He can't get any better, because I don't believe it. And I've seen other 25-year-olds still pick up their game. But tell me how this is a developmental move, and I'll sit back and listen.
It remains to be seen how big this doghouse is or how long he'll be in there. But I do think that if Frost doesn't get into at least the Sabres game, then we're looking at more of an alarming situation, right?
Yeah, no question. I already don't like it because, again, is this a developmental team or is this a team trying to make the playoffs? At some point, they need to figure this out. They didn't figure it out last year. They rode it all the way, as far as they could ride it. All signs are here that they need to make that decision much quicker this year.
I think so too. We talked on yesterday's show about Matvey Michkov, went into a little deep dive about his stats and his usage more particularly so far this season, because this early it's more about how are they using them than what is he
Right.
doing performance wise, right?
Oh, yeah.
But it looks like they have him starting out on the Paling Richard line, which we said was not as good as the Farabee option that he played in later in the game against the Sharks. But again, small data for these lines. He's been playing with other guys more often. So.
Right. The small data is because they're changing him off the line. They don't even keep it on that. So it's like when a team sees that, they're going to be like, look, just be prepared for him to be out on the ice a lot more than a third line guy. And that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, if you haven't listened to yesterday's show, highly recommend you do, because there's a lot of really good information digging into exact minutes and line combos that have worked the best for him thus far. I do want to dig a little more into Emil Andrae on the blue line side of things, just because I found it interesting that he's played with everybody, right?
Yeah.
But for the most part, the top 2 pairings he's had so far in minutes is with Erik Johnson and Travis Sanheim, which is wild to me because it's like the top of the food chain and the
Right.
bottom of the food chain.
I know.
Right? So it's just like it's very weird to me, but he's had just shy of 40 minutes with Johnson and just over 30 minutes with Travis Sanheim so far. The defenseman he's played the least with is Nick Seeler, and half of the 5 minutes that he played with him was penalty kill time. So
Right.
I think, you toss that out the window
You
a
do.
little bit. But if you're looking at expected goals against per 60 stats for these pairings, and I know that it's very hard to pick a single stat to judge defensemen on, so you
Right.
can't take this as gospel entirely, but it is an indicator to a certain degree here. So the Andrae pairing with Zamula had the highest expected goals against per 60 at 3.92. So you can see why they got away from that really
Right.
quickly. Sanheim Andrae is at 2.67 and Andre Johnson is at 2.28. So Andrae with Johnson actually suppressed more goals, which I think kind of makes sense from a logic perspective because Sanheim and Andrae are both offensive-minded defensemen.
I have a different take. My take is Erik Johnson's only playing 10 minutes, maybe 12. So the less the time, the less the expected goals.
Well, this is per 60 though. This is a rate.
I know,
So
but this is ratioing it instead of like Erik Johnson actually being out there like when he's tired after, like, let's say
yeah,
13
that's
minutes.
fair. That
That's
aspect
where
of it
I'm getting at it.
is
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think, this Andrae Sanheim pairing, I think has a lot of potential if it sticks around. They have the
It
highest
all
Corsi
depends on Cam
score.
York, like it does.
Well, that's the thing because they have the highest Corsi for on the team for that pairing. When he was with Drysdale, Andre only got offensive zone starts. So you can't really like look at that as a
No.
evaluation of his complete game. But when Andre was with Johnson, he got more neutral zone and defensive zone starts than with any other pairing because Johnson is a defensive defenseman in
Right.
Flyers system. So that only makes sense. But that's what got him more experience. So to me, if you have Andre with Sanheim most of the time and Johnson some of the time, that's the right in situational play, that's the best option for me right
So you're
now.
gonna put York and Sealer then. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, the only thing
Yeah.
is, it's like then Risto gets put to the third pairing if you're doing that, or York is on the third pairing.
It's a tough decision to
Like, that's a
make,
tough
right?
decision.
Yeah, so I'm just
Because
trying to
really,
like
Risto should be in the top 4. He's been really good this year.
correct. And that's the thing is that with Andre performing so well right now, it's creating these cascading issues that it's just worth bringing to the surface to talk
Right.
about
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah. I agree.
So I think it's going to be fun in a lot of ways to see what the Flyers do with their blue line as these guys come back from injury and who's going to get the short end of the stick,
Right.
Zamula, moving forward
No doubt.
on the Flyers blue line. But we're going to put a pin in that as we move over to talk about the Ottawa Senators, who the Flyers are facing tonight.
Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers can bet $5, get 150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of your game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. I'm going with the Indianapolis Colts over the New York Jets. Just visit fanduel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's fanduel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
The World Series, the Super Bowl, the Olympics, the world's top athletes get to play in these top level sporting events thanks to one thing, teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. Select Quote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to get your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. You invest so much time to take care of yourself and be the healthiest, best version of you. Select Quote's exclusive policies can reward that effort. If you're in good health, they'll work with carriers that can get you same day coverage for up to $5 million with no medical exam required. These policies are more affordable than you think. You can get coverage for up to $1 million for as little as $20 a month. Head to selectquote.com and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. Get the right life insurance for you at or less at selectquote.com/lockedonnhl. Go to selectquote.com/lockedonnhl today to get started. That's selectquote.com/lockedonnhl. Select Quote, they shop, you save. On tomorrow's show, we will be breaking down the game against the Ottawa Senators that we're about to talk about, plus a preview Flyers versus Sabres. Always exciting to play our pals in Buffalo, who are a weird team and continue to be a weird team year after year, and it never ends.
No, it doesn't end.
All right. So for the Ottawa Senators, I think the biggest thing happening with them right now is getting Shane Pinto back in the lineup. That has really helped them. And in their most recent game against the Toronto Maple Leafs, they won 3-0, outshot them 41-27. Even though nobody scored a power play goal in 7 combined attempts, Linus Ullmark got the shutout there. And I mentioned the Senators being really tough down the middle, and that was a huge, huge part of why they won that game against the Leafs.
Yeah, and I think wasn't Austin Matthews out too?
Yeah, well, that too. But
Yeah, I mean that's a big piece. Um, and Stellaris was in net. If you want to say Wool's better, I'm not sure yet, but yeah, you could go that route too. But yeah, I mean Ottawa's a good team. Ottawa, Claude Giroux is playing on a good team right now. They're strong down the middle. Brady Tkachuk's a handful. Stützle might be a top 15 player in this league that doesn't get talked about enough. And so you have to really keep the puck away from their offense. It can't just simply be, let's just survive in our zone and block shots and clear it out. If you do that, you're going to lose. Just with players like Giroux, because he's going to keep pushing the issue, and he's going to look for these great passes that, you can't really block a shot if you can't get to like the pass, like if he's going to go cross ice and such. So I feel like you have to control the puck on your own offensive end and have better zone time. And, that's something where it's improved a little bit from the eye test, but not enough for me.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing. Of course, there's 3 former Flyers on the Ottawa Senators right now, including Nick Cousins and Zach McEwen. But this is a team that statistically isn't great overall. They're just kind of like mid-low table in everything,
Mm-hmm.
really. But they're also finding ways to win games.
That's it.
And yeah, they're just doing that, and they're hanging in there from a standings perspective. And I think that this is a year, and this is like they're in this batch of teams, in my opinion, including the New Jersey Devils and Buffalo Sabres, where, at least in the Eastern Conference, where you're like, they have so many young, talented players. Like, is this the year that it's going to kick in and the success
Right.
is going to start to come? And we've seen that this year with the Devils so far early. And the Senators, I think, are the next team for that to happen with. Like, things are just starting to fall into place there.
Yeah, having Norris stay healthy is a big thing for them because,
Mm,
he's a guy that could really add a lot. Having Shane Pinto in there now full
yeah.
time is a big deal because he's a valuable player. He's a young player that's going to continue to get better. So, yeah, I think, they are a borderline playoff team. And this is not an easy game on the road. You're going to, I don't know who's going to be in net. That'll matter. And yeah, this is one where it's going to be different than last game. Like last game, the
For
Sharks
sure.
played hard. I get it. I give them all the credit in the world, but their defense stunk, and it was brutal at times. Their defense, but their offense, kept coming. Well, now it's going to be different because there's offense and defense here, and to be honest, this is going to be a more physical game. Uh, you're going to have, you're going to have Tyler Clevin, who hits like a ton of bricks. You're going to have McEwen fight somebody, so they'll probably keep Delorier in the lineup because McEwen's going to play. That's my guess. So it's going to be a little bit of more of a mix, but it's a much harder game.
Yeah, I think so. And you know me, I'm like a look at a team's second line to see like what's predictive here. And if it's
Yeah,
the Stützle line with Giroux and Drake Batherson, I mean, come on.
yeah,
Like that is a very good second line
it's a
there.
big time line. It could be a lot of teams firsts. And,
Yep.
I worry about Jake Sanderson in the sense that can anybody beat him first to the puck in the corners? I doubt it, but they're going to have to because otherwise he's going to be the first guy in the corners every time he's out on the ice.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued as to, when they put him out there, like against what Flyers lines and who
Yeah,
they're going to see as the threat
it'll be
there,
one or
right?
two. It'll be, that way for sure.
Well,
I
but like
mean,
if Mitchkov is
they won't do it
technically
at
on
the
a
beginning, but if Mitchkov moves up, then they will.
as far as goaltender, I think Allmark will start, except for the fact that he just played against the Leafs and they have Carolina on Saturday. So is the Flyers game a good reason to rest him? Could be,
Yeah,
but also they're at home. So it's kind of 50-50 for me right now.
yeah. I kind of wonder. I think Olmark may be in there because he's at home.
Yeah, I mean, all things being equal for a home game, you go with your top goaltender,
Right.
right? But I think, it's like an every other day thing this week for the Sens. So
Yeah,
we shall see on that front. But Olmark is a very tough goaltender
he is.
to to beat. And I think that, especially given the Flyers' shot accuracy issues, it's going to come into play a lot more, especially with the Sens defense that I think is able to clear net front a little better than they used to.
Even though we're a few years away from it, Claude Giroux is still going to want to do well against the Flyers. That's not going to change.
Yeah, 100%. But, you look at some of the other stats for the Sens right now relative to the Flyers. I said they're kind of mid-low table, but relative to the Flyers, they're a little better.
Right.
They're in, how much time they're spending in the offensive zone, their shooting percentage, how many shots they're taking. I think the only thing that looks good for me, not the only thing, but one of the main things is that they're not scoring as much as they could, right? They just got 3 goals against the Leafs without Austin Matthews there. He was a very good two-way forward. So I get it. But they have 2.43 goals for per game in actuality. So it's less than that 3-goal threshold. I think it makes, the window open a little bit more in terms of them being beatable if the Flyers can beat Olmark, if he is indeed in net.
Right. Here's the key stat. So Claude Giroux against the Flyers has 3 goals, 6 assists in 6 games, and he's a +5.
Sure. Yeah,
That's massive.
it is. It is. Well,
He may not be Connor McDavid, but against the Flyers, he kind of is.
in a lot of ways. I do think he'll walk away with at least a point.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's just an assist. But
Like if you're betting on FanDuel, you got to bet that, he's going to get a point or more.
Yes,
You
I
have to.
think that is a good bet to take, but we'll see how this one plays out and talk about it on tomorrow's show. In the meantime, Thursdays, we either do a draft prospect profile or check in on one of the Flyers prospects. We're doing the latter today and are going to see how Carson Bjarnason is doing in Brandon coming up next.
PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks invented the flex pay, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. And PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Download the app today and use Locked On NHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Locked On NHL on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. PrizePicks, run your game.
So Carson Bjarnason, goaltender prospect for the Flyers, is in the first year of his ELC, playing in Brandon for the Wheat Kings in the WHL. This is his 3rd year in the WHL. So, in theory, he should be maturing. We saw him at camp this year, and I think he looked a lot better this year than he had in previous years at camp, right?
Yeah, as long as we don't count the rookie game that they had. That wasn't
Well,
fair. Everything
no,
else,
it
he
was
looked
not
terrific.
fair. Yeah,
It was not
it's
fair.
true.
Everything else, he looked terrific. And it wasn't like he was bigger, faster, stronger. It's not about that a lot of times with goaltending. I always felt like he was fine that way. I just think it's in his mental headspace. It was different. He came in. He was, very competitive. He battled. I felt like everything I liked about him in international play was finally showing up and, on
Yep.
Flyers ice where it didn't really before.
Yeah, it feels like he's been around for forever, but he was really only drafted like a year ago in 2023. So like a
Correct.
year and a half ago. He's 19 years old, won't be 20 until next summer. So he has a lot of runway here. And especially as we know with goaltending, there's a lot of room to grow here. And I think like one of the things that's been a problem, from our end of things with him is him playing for Brandon, which has been a weaker team overall. So the numbers for him, I think, are slightly skewed just because of the team in front of him.
But his numbers are good this year, so I don't think it's as big a factor.
Right. Well,
Uh,
yeah.
I mean, Roger McQueen is definitely a force when he's in there. I know he has an injury, and Elick is a big, tough defenseman, which has to help him on some level, and his numbers are better. So I don't think it's as much of a he has to get traded kind of thing because I think he's starting to figure it out.
Right, and that's where I was going with it, that it's been a problem, but it's starting to be less of a problem
Right,
now.
right.
Brandon is winning a few more games, and we had talked about goaltenders. You know, you want goaltenders who are above that 900 save percentage threshold here. And, you know, in his first year, he was exactly at 900. He was at 907 for last season. Right now, I know it's early going and he's played 9 games, but he's at 925
Much
right
better.
now, which is much, much better. Goals against is down to 2.69, which he
Yep,
has not been under 3 yet.
right.
So this
Those are
is
big
a
deals.
yeah, yeah, and I think, you know, if it was 2 or 3 games, I'd be like, meaningless, but, like, 9 games, even though the team is 4-4-1 when he's in net, again, speaking to the fact that, you know, they're getting better, but they're still not a great team, but to
Right.
have Carson's numbers be that good in this scenario with that kind of record, I think is a really good sign.
It's a real good sign, and I think that's, I'm not as looking for that trade like we were before because yeah, I'm sure it was a factor, but again, now that he's, getting older, he is starting to figure it out, and that's good that he can figure it out. If he gets traded, hey, great. It'll probably help him. But if not, it's not going to be a lost season.
Right, and, you know, he had, like, 1 bad game, I would say, in the last 5 games, and that's kinda
Yeah, it happens.
par for the course, and it happens, but even in that bad game, he faced 40 shots on goal, let in 4. So, you know, when you dig into it, he's still really playing well. And he was at that 900 save percentage threshold, even in that quote unquote bad game. His last 4 games, he was above 900, including a shutout on 33 saves, which is part of what won him the WHL goalie of the week
Yeah, I mean,
and
a
was
shutout's great.
yeah, and he was WHL goalie of the week plus CHL, one of their goalies of the week in the overall Canadian junior system last week. And so, you know, I think like the question then becomes like, where is his place in the Flyers goalie depth, uh, given Zavgarin and you know, where the
Kolosov and
Flyers might
him.
yeah,
I mean, Zach Garen's still the number one guy. It doesn't matter to me that Kolosov's playing in the NHL. I think there's still higher upside there. Then it's Kolosov, then it's him. Like it hasn't that part to me hasn't changed yet.
right, and that's the thing about him being 19, that
Yes.
there's time.
Yeah, of course.
So,
I mean, that's a big deal.
yeah, and I think given the Flyers' history, you can never have too many goalies, right?
No, you can never have too many goalies. And again, these guys are years away. At 19, you're still looking at 3, 4 years away. It could be just that. He might need 2 years in the AHL after he comes over when he's 20. That's fine. For a goalie, that's fine. I'm happy he's facing a lot of shots, to be honest. To me, that's a positive.
Yeah, his last 4 games, he's faced over 30 shots.
Yeah.
It's been a while since he's faced under that, so he's been, booked and busy, as they
Yeah. And
say.
and a shutout against Medicine hat, they're in second place. They're not a
Mhm.
great team, but they're pretty good. And so, that's good. These are things that weren't happening for him last year. So you could tell there's a difference here.
Right, and, you know, it is unfortunate that I don't think obviously, we won't see a team like Brandon in, like, Memorial Cup competition,
Right.
but I think that at least I'm hoping they could have some significant role in the WHL playoffs this season just to give him that more, like, high pressure scenario experience, which is important, but that's kind of the goal this year, right, is to keep his save percentage up, keep him playing smart, and then also get him some more playoff experience.
Yeah, you definitely want more playoff experience, but I'm looking up. I don't know. Okay, yeah. So I was seeing if there was any other kind of game or tournament he could play in, and um, he is 19. When does he turn 20?
Next June.
So he still could be in the World Juniors.
Yep.
So that's a big deal. So you go World Juniors playoffs. That's what I was thinking in my head. Yeah, he could still be in that. So he probably will.
Yeah, I'm not sure he'll be the number one goaltender for
No, but
Canada.
he'll be in it.
Yeah, I think so too. So that is another thing to look forward to with him. But all good signs with Carson Bjarnason. So looking forward to seeing more from him. That will do it for today's show. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow with our recap of the Sens game. We'll look ahead to the Sabres game, plus look at the week as a whole. And as a reminder, we always want to hear from you. So send in those mailbag questions or Flyers thoughts on any of our socials at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail or comment on our YouTube channel. I'm Rachel. I'm on Twitter and Blue Sky at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology, SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen. For your next listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey, become a fantasy hockey expert, and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great day, everyone.